color of the up north light.
We're going to give the rest of the yeah, so we're going to get like 15 cards.
Came outside my door this morning. Take your badges off for me. Just go all the way back to the end. All the way to the end. Do me a favor, leave your bag outside. Take your badges off and then file over. Come on. Yep. Are you coming in? Yep. The shop. Take your badge off and come file it. Yep. Leave your bag for me. Take your badges off. Take your badges off and then come inside and file it. Yep. Leave your bags outside, please. Take your badges off. Grab a sign and then. Yep. Come on, yep. We're gonna have to double this, so if y'all wanna, like,
Yeah, you
it's not
can
gonna be
also
single
from the
file.
sides.
Yep. Squeeze it in.
Don't worry, you won't be tough for the shot, I promise.
This is for people who are not speakers who are standing in the shop. Leave your bag outside. Take your bag off for me. Take your badge off for me, please. Good. Exactly. Do me a favor, step back. Yep, the members are gonna come and they're gonna come right up to the podium. So just step all the way back. Let's fix this. Brother, come one side next to the flag. Yep, you want to be on this side, you want to be on both sides of the podium. Choose a side, yep. Either side, step on over, that works.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to.
No, that's it. No, Frank, you're good. I just wanted to switch that up. Come on. Right next to you. This your show.
I know. I'm just, I want this to be over here. Is there fine? Right there? Okay. I think we're just about ready, right? We need 2 more minutes. We are not ready. We're so close.
Yep. No, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. This is difficult. So I'm going to take this out.
Everybody's going to be moving. Everybody's going to be getting out of shot. This is perfect.
We should have definitely gone with a smaller font.
While we wait for the press, let's do one big group shot.
Put your papers, speakers, put your papers down.
Double dip on time here.
Signs over head or what?
If you guys, if you want to get a site now, definitely some relief here.
I don't want to block that.
I know. For the I'm short, so I can always be in the front.
Okay.
I'm tall. Let's do one, the first one with signs down, and then we'll hold signs above heads on the second one.
great.
Okay, I appreciate you.
Oh, him. Okay.
Right there. Perfect, too. Thank you.
Okay, signs up.
Morning, buddy, over there.
One thing about a revolutionary sign, but she does not putting that down.
We're good on time.
Did this eat up the 2 minutes?
That's what we were hoping for.
All right.
All right.
Everybody take a deep breath. Let's go.
All right, we're good. All right. First of all, just thank you all so much for your patience. As we see here at the Capitol, sometimes we have to pivot at the last minute, and we're accustomed to it. So I'm grateful for everybody who made the adjustments, everybody who's made the trip, who've traveled to come here to fight for reparations and to continue on in our movement for justice and peace and equity. So I just want to, first of all, shout out the coalition of people who are here. When we think about the efforts that it takes to make anything move in this country, it's never one person, it's never one legislator. It is always a coalition of people who are come together from all over this country, from so many different backgrounds, from so many different states and groups. Thank you so much for your work, for your dedication. To the colleagues of mine who have stood with us, who are continuing to stand with us as we fight back against the whitewashing of our history, the obstruction of justice, and the flat-out denial of our voices in Black lives. I am deeply humbled today to be reintroducing the Reparations Now Resolution. This resolution was first led by my sister in service, the formidable Cori Bush, who has, thank you. Sister Cori has long sought to repair the injustices that plague our communities, has stood on the front line on intersectional movements, and continues to do that. From whether she's inside of the House of Congress or she's outside, we can always rely on her to stand up and to come back and to stand with us. And to be clear, she and I and we stand here not just as a member and former member of Congress, but of descendants of enslaved ancestors, of people whose labor built this country, whose humanity had been denied for centuries. So we're here to say that there's no more waiting, no more watering down, no more putting justice on layaway. Black folks are owed more than thoughts and prayers. Yes. And we're owed repair, we're owed restitution, and we're owed justice. We're reintroducing this critical resolution today because contrary to the desperate, defensive, and deeply inaccurate arguments against justice and equity in this country, attacks on equality, Black economic opportunity, Black health, Black wealth, and so much more are not just a ghost of the past, but they are a very present and ongoing legacy that we are living through right now. I saw that our friends at Fox News have already picked this up. They scooped us, and as we know, depending on who picks up a story, there's different framings, and it's always interesting to see what framing they're going to use. So some folks like to frame the debate around reparations as Black folks simply complaining about wrongs done in a distant past to our ancestors that nobody today is guilty of. But we know that's not just ahistorical, it's ignoring the reality of today. On today, we are still living through the effects of the brutal kidnapping and trafficking of Africans and the government-sanctioned system of chattel enslavement that ushered this country into existence. We're living through the effects of a government-sanctioned system of sharecropping that replaced it in lieu of reparations to the freed Black Americans who had nothing but their names, an eviction notice, few legal protections, and nowhere to go. We're still living through the government-sanctioned Jim Crow segregation laws that kept Black Americans from equal or sometimes any access to education, jobs, homes, political representation, or safety, no legal recourse for persistent acts of terrorism like public lynching or massacres of towns like Tulsa and Rosewood and so many more. We're still living through the government-sanctioned voter disenfranchisement, followed by government-sanctioned discriminatory housing policies, government-sanctioned mass incarceration, and more. The harms done to enslaved Africans and subsequently their descendants for generations to follow are innumerable, but they are well documented, traceable, and persistent. We often hear that slavery was a thing of the past, that our country no longer allows segregation, that Black folks has every access to opportunity available to them, but yet we see how easily centuries of progress and struggles are erased and undone. With a stroke of a pen, the president was able to say that diversity, equity, and inclusion are not policies or practices or goals that our government or institutions or businesses should implement, even while black folks are demonstrably underrepresented across colleges and education, higher education, jobs, and all other indices of success or outward mobility. With a stroke of a pen, a president thinks he can eliminate the Office of Civil Rights at the DOJ and the Department of Education, that he can eliminate the Department of Education altogether. With a stroke of a pen, the president thinks he can eliminate thousands of good black jobs and the mass layoff of federal workers. And by a vote of just 6 people, we can eliminate affirmative action. Reparations are owed because there is a debt that is owed. But more than anything, this moment shows us that the fate of justice and equality and fairness and opportunity for the current living and descendant people of government-sanctioned discrimination or oppression can't be left to the whims of any administration. Where the government has created a harm, it has a duty to repair. So let's make it clear. There is a debt that does exist. This country has taken so much from black folks and has a debt it owes because for over 400 years into this very day, this country has stolen black labor, black lives, black futures. Industries were built and maintained through the subjugation of black people in this country, and wealth was built and maintained through the discriminatory policies that still plague us to this day. And to be clear, some people directly benefited from it or are direct beneficiaries of it. We have systems that create and perpetuate imbalances and balances in our society, and you either benefit from it or you are disenfranchised by it. And black people continue to be disenfranchised and harmed by these systems. Others receive advantages from it. So it was no accident that the Federal Housing Authority denied black families the ability to purchase homes in certain neighborhoods, and to this day are more likely to be denied a mortgage, while white families were able to build homes and generational wealth. It's no accident that veterans were dishonorably discharged so that they couldn't reap the benefits of the GI Bill, while white veterans were provided education and training benefits to kickstart opportunities for their descendants. It's no accident that highways and transportation and infrastructure projects tore our communities apart and bulldozed black neighborhoods to the ground because even when black folks did everything right by building our own communities, our own schools, our own banks, our own churches, they could still be destroyed in a matter of moments. The reality is that black people have less wealth. We have a maternity mortality crisis. We are more likely to live in polluted areas, more so than any others because the federal government made it that way. So even though folks today have never owned an enslaved human being, so many are still the direct beneficiaries of the policies and systems and institutions that have made and been put in place. And we know there will be pushback. We've all seen the pushback, and we've worked through it. It's why we're here today. Reparations are a proposal to level the playing field, but the only way we could ever have a level playing field is by remedying the harms that have been done by the system. So we need real, concrete action. We need policies that close the racial wealth gap, eliminate black maternal health disparities, fund education, address environmental racism in our communities, and we need reparations. It is a moral obligation and a debt that this country owes. So today, with my colleagues and with our coalition and movement, I say it again, reparations now, not later, not someday, and not when it's politically convenient. So we're here today to hear the stories of black folks, to reaffirm our history and our place in it, but also what we are owed as being and having been exploited in this country. So without further ado, I thank you, and I believe that I'm going to pass the mic to my sister in service and original sponsor of this resolution, Cori Bush.
Come on, OG.
Oh, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon.
Many thanks to Congresswoman Summer Lee for your leadership and for taking up this mantle and moving it forward. That is the work. And so I'm so proud and I'm so honored to be here with you, to see you shining in all of your excellence and brilliance as you push this forward with the help of all of the people up here. I'm just so proud of you and so excited for you. And to all the groups, thank you for your tireless work, for your thankless work. And without you, this would not move forward. Without you all, because the people in Congress can't do this alone. Today, we stand here in the shadow of centuries of injustice and in the light of our ancestors' unbreakable spirit. Today we say what too many are afraid to say, reparations now. When I decided to run for office years ago, one of my priorities was to come here and move the needle on reparations in a transformative way, to see what the internal barriers are in Congress and to work to overcome them. I also knew I wanted to introduce legislation, and as we heard from Representative Lee, we actually did that. So in 2023, after working with all of the groups represented here and so many more for more than a year, back and forth working on this legislation. Woo! Together, we introduced the Reparations Now Resolution. It was a labor of love. Because the thing is this, why would I, a descendant of enslaved Black people on both sides of my family and in all of my chocolate glory, not prioritize reparations here in this house? And again, I'm so glad that Rep. Lee decided in all of her chocolate glory to make it a priority as well. For over 400 years, this country has profited off the stolen labor, the stolen land, and stolen lives of Black people. From the first shackled bodies brought to these shores, and those that didn't make it to the shores, to the grueling, back-breaking, murderous work done on plantations that built America's wealth, to the federal officials who enslaved human beings while they wrote our laws, even here in this building. America has been cashing checks written in Black blood. The wealth gap today, this wealth gap today, it didn't fall from the sky. It is a direct result of chattel slavery, of Jim Crow, of redlining, of the war on drugs, of mass incarceration, and designed violently to hold, to keep, to ensure that Black people would be poor and stay poor, to be powerless and oppressed. And every day that we fail to repair the harm, we compound it. And now we have a president who would have us to believe the Civil Rights Act was a mistake, that the Voting Rights Act is just too much. He wants to roll back the very protections our people bled for, rights that are already so fragile for us, so conditional. And we're supposed to just sit back and pretend that this is politics as usual? No, we know what it is. This is fascism wrapped in a suit and tie. So you see, they've tried to also go after and demonize the word woke, to twist it into something ugly. But let me tell you what woke means. It means we remember. We remember the terror of racial massacres, the theft of our neighborhoods, the forced labor that built the very Capitol we stand in. We remember the lynchings. We remember the executions disguised as law and order. And we remember, and we're thinking about even the possible pardons that may come next. We remember, and that memory is power. And that's why we're here today, because we're not asking for a handout. No, we're demanding justice. We are demanding what is owed. We are demanding reparations. But they tell us it's too expensive. Well, was it too expensive when they gave out land grants to white settlers? Was it too expensive when they bailed out the banks that preyed on our neighborhoods? Was it too expensive when they handed billions to corporations that built their fortunes off the backs of enslaved people? No, it wasn't too expensive then. And it's not too expensive now. So we say to the halls of power, stop telling us to wait. We have waited for generations. We say to our allies, some who are standing up here today, but these are the ones that are fierce coming with us. Stand with us, speak with us, fight with us, and we thank you for doing so. And we say to the rest of America, if you are truly committed to justice as you try to say you are, you cannot look away. You cannot turn your back on the demand for reparations, because until there is repair, there will be no justice. And where there is no justice, we will continue to fight. We're not going anywhere. We are awake. We are organized, and we will win. Reparations now.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Ooh, I love being with Movement Family. You know, I don't know, y'all. It's just something about where these two enter. You're always going to get a mix of revival, of rally, and of renewal. While we're in the fight for restitution. Okay. But again, it's beautiful to be here today with all of you, my movement family, freedom fighters and justice seekers. Because that is exactly what reparations is about, justice. Justice delayed is justice denied, and we need reparations when? Now. We need reparations when? Now. So very proud to be here alongside Congresswoman Summer Lee. I don't know if the public really understands how deep the bench of black women power is in the corridors and halls of Congress. Congresswoman Summer Lee is a brilliant scholar. She's an unapologetic truth teller, and she is a movement builder. And I'm so grateful to her for advancing this critical legislation to make reparations a reality, and to gather today for the reintroduction of the Reparations Now Resolution, originally championed by our sister, Congresswoman Cori Bush, who has time and again never asked permission to lead, who has been the architect of movements honoring that long-standing tradition of black women. When we enter and we take our seat at the table, we shake the table, we shift the energy, and every time I'm in the presence of these two, I feel that Fannie Lou is being summoned. I feel that Sojourner is being summoned. And so it's an honor to do this work shoulder to shoulder with them, and a greater honor to call them my sisters. The momentum that we see throughout this country is a testament to the strength of this movement. It is a testament to the strength of your agitation, to the extent of your stamina, a testament to the strength of your strategic thought partnership and your demands. The reparations movement is one with a long history, dating back to the early sins of this nation, when our African ancestors were kidnapped, raped, shipped, warehoused, and enslaved our ancestors whose labor built this country. When I think about what we take on in this moment, as I've shared so many times before, several years ago, an indigenous elder challenging me to be a better ancestor than descendant. And that call to action has never left me, to be a better ancestor than descendant. And that is why I was so honored to take on H.R. 40 from the late, great Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Alongside Congresswoman Summer Lee's Reparations Now Resolution, our collective legislative efforts are the catalyst for transformative and reparative justice. They are an acknowledgement of the harm and an end to the neglect. They are an investment in healing and a departure from gaslighting. They represent long overdue restitution for black folks' contributions in every aspect of American society, with the coordinated attacks coming out of the White House with this occupant who is a white nationalist, who believes that the enslavement of our ancestors was a workforce development program. Yeah. So with these attacks going on, Republicans in Congress, our movement is needed now more than ever. I am asked nearly daily, why now? To which we say, exactly now. Trump's policies are nothing but anti-blackness on steroids, trying to end diversity, equity, and inclusion and bring back segregation. This America wants to make America Jim Crow again, and then some. Get rid of fair housing laws, equal employment opportunity, quality education for black folks. Firing government federal workers is an attack on black people because we represent 20% of that workforce. Dismantling the Department of Education is an attack on black people because our schools are the ones that need funding. Gutting Medicaid is an attack on black people because our babies and our mothers carrying our babies rely on it for access to health care. Defunding the Smithsonian. Have y'all read that executive order? He actually says in the language that race is biology and not a social construct. That is the same belief system of the Ku Klux Klan. So don't ask me why now, exactly now. when there's an ongoing attack on black people because our history is what they are trying to erase because they seek to erase us. Republicans are showing us daily what it looks like to legislate hurt, harm, and oppression, but we are showing what it looks like to legislate equity, what it looks like to legislate healing, and what it looks like to legislate justice. From H.R. 40 to Reparations Now, to Tulsa, to slavery remembrance, Congress has a duty and an obligation to confront past wrongs and the centuries of enslavement, violence, and discrimination against black people. We are in a moment of anti-blackness on steroids, and we refuse to be silent. We will not back down in our pursuit of racial justice. The antidote to anti-blackness is to be pro-black, and we will do it unapologetically. The United States government owes us a debt, and we need reparations now.
I want to apologize that I didn't more formally introduce Rep. Presley like we did Rep. Bush. Remedying that now, I would like to introduce Rep. Rashida Tlaib. What? Yes, your turn. Yeah, but I had to bring it out anyways because our folks are coming up next. So with that, Rep. Rashida Tlaib.
I know, that's right. So you went to go get the paper. No, it's fine. Thank you all so much. I love being in this room because it's like being at home. It really is. I'm so grateful to my sister, Cori Bush, for introducing Reparations Now Resolution. And again, people nodded their heads or like shrugging and everything. She didn't care. She kept moving. And I'm so inspired by the fact that Congresswoman Summer Lee is taking on the torch and carrying this very important legislation. Thank you both for your incredible leadership on this. Of course, I stand here before you as a Congresswoman for the most beautiful, blackest city in the country, the city of Detroit, to say that reparations is not a radical idea. We've been talking about it forever. We've been singing it from the rooftops, talking to urban farmers, to everyone, from saying if you're not going to do, we're going to find ways and pathways to try to again heal the harm and the hurt of many of my family members and my community. And you Detroiters know that it is a debt that our nation owes, and a true acknowledgement of the pain and the trauma and harm inflicted on generations of many of our black neighbors. Reparations are a necessary step towards true equity in our country and a more just future. There is an opportunity for Congress to confront our nation's racist history of slavery and white supremacy. We must provide the descendants of enslaved black families with reparations that they were promised. Right. That's the thing that everybody keeps forgetting. We were taught early on, they were promised this. And they deserve to create a pathway towards healing and justice. The path towards justice has never been easy. We know that. It's like this institution we all know wasn't built for us, but we have to, on the outside, move them. It's just like we always have to on every single thing regarding our children, our communities, our health, and so much more. But we must remember it is never in vain, right? Congress must act to confront these uncomfortable truths and right the wrongs of our country's history. Our country, as you know, has been built by many of our black families and communities. For centuries, many have endured the brutality of slavery, the violence of white supremacy, the dehumanization of Jim Crow, which is still inevitable, still very evident in auto insurance and housing insurance. And it's everywhere in housing and everything. No, it's true. I see it every day in my community, and the systemic racism that has left lasting impact on lives of our neighbors. The fact that black mothers are still not believed when they say they're in pain in the hospital. There's so much, again, systems that have been in place there that are killing many of our black neighbors. The federal government has played a central role. You heard it from many of my sisters here. And I'm not simply talking about depths of the past here, but the social and economic policies that built middle class in the 20th century, like Social Security and federal housing policies, often excluded, at the time, black families and communities of color. And again, we saw it. It was more difficult to access quality education. It still is. Again, it was built on the systemic racism that we continue to see in policy. By providing reparations for many of my families, we can begin to address the racial wealth gap and the decades of disinvestment in communities like mine, and dismantle the racist systems that have held back many of our neighbors and resulted in so much death. We know that true healing cannot occur without acknowledging that pain, and reparations is necessary. I'm proud to be from a community that understands that. The community mothers that helped raise me continue to always remind me, again, we don't wait. We always talk about that. They will never understand. It's almost like, I remember one community mother's like, oh, he don't get it, let's keep going. But I would like to share a quote. I like to always bring a little bit of my district in, from a resident, Lauren Hood. She's a friend in the city of Detroit's former reparations task force chair. She said, quote, "For it to be holistic reparations, it needs to be an acknowledgement of the harm, some form of redress, and insurance that it won't happen again." And again, what we heard today is just with the stroke of a pen, we are seeing the current administration dismantle even the small little trinkets of crumbs of protection they provided our families. And again, we need to make sure that it's not only reparations, but that it leads to more real, true policy change that, again, protects our families. But again, thank you to my sisters. It's always so wonderful to be with all of you truth tellers. And again, it's wonderful to be at home in this Congress that just really is. Just chips at your soul, but thank you. What? It does. But thank you for restoring me today. Thank you. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
With respect to time, I want to introduce some of our advocates and our coalition leaders. One of the leaders of this movement and this work, I want to bring up Dreesen Heath, who is Reparations Strategy. She's the founder of Why We Can't Wait Reparations Coalition. So without further ado.
Ooh, we made it. We made it. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I stand here today grounded in the unyielding spirit of our ancestors, those who resisted unsurvivable conditions with dignity, who built this nation stone by stone, and whose blood still nourishes the soil beneath this very Capitol. I honor them and I call on their strength in this moment as we continue to push forward on our fight for holistic healing. I want to lift up and thank our Congresswoman Summer Lee for her bold and unwavering leadership. You continue to lead on labor rights, disability rights, community development and infrastructure, on environmental justice, housing, education, voting rights, corporate accountability, right? All the black things, all of our things, all of the people's things. But I also thank you for understanding that this is a moment we cannot pass on, to restore our collective identity, dignity, and to advance repair. Thank you to my sister, former and forever Congresswoman Cori Bush, for your vision, for your steadfastness, for standing with and for movement always. I appreciate you. And to Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, for standing unapologetically, always on the side of justice, on the side of memory, and on the side of repair. Thank you. You all are carrying the torch lit generations ago by people like Belinda Sutton, Callie House, Queen Mother Moore, and the countless unnamed freedom fighters whose dreams of liberation still echo through our demands today. We are gathered not just in remembrance, but in resistance. At a time when 44 states have introduced legislation to ban the teaching of anti-black racism's role in shaping this nation. At a time when black voters are being disenfranchised, black property is still being stolen, black people are being disappeared and displaced, and black people are being over-policed, overworked, underpaid, and over-incarcerated. At a time when white supremacist ideology is not just tolerated, but paraded in the highest halls of power. It is now that we must say clearly and without apology, reparations are not a luxury or a charity. Reparations are a legal and moral necessity. We are demanding justice here today and for all our days. We are not asking to be included in an economy on our backs. We are building and demanding repair for the extraction and exploitation that has been the default setting of this nation. Let us be clear. Government routinely issues reparations at the federal level. And this country has paid reparations to Japanese American families for forced incarceration and removal. I appreciate y'all for standing with us today. To white slave owners for their loss of property. To Holocaust survivors abroad. To veterans exposed to Agent Orange. To 9/11 victims and their families. So why is it controversial to repair what has been stolen from Black people? Why is it so hard to recognize our full humanity? To compensate in all necessary forms for centuries of stolen labor, land, and life? To those who ask why now, we say, because we are still being disappeared. Because from Tulsa to Tyree Nichols, the legacy of racial violence continues to evolve. Because, as this Reparations Now resolution declares, the exploitation of Black people has been the primary economic engine of this country, and it must end. Reparations are how we begin to dismantle racial capitalism. They are how we move from punishment to possibility. They are how we finish the unfinished project of a just democracy. So to those in power, you can't ban Black history and expect to bury our demand for justice and equity. You can't erase us. We are still here. We ain't going anywhere. We demand reparations, and we demand them now. Thank you. If we can, I will. And next up, I want to bring my sister in the movement, an OG, a fierce, lifelong advocate for reparations, Mia Awataki.
Thank you. Thank you. Solidarity. During World War II, 120,000 Americans of Japanese of American ancestry, Americans of Japanese ancestry were imprisoned in U.S. concentration camps with no due process. My mother was incarcerated in Manzanar. My dad was a staff sergeant in the heroic 100th 442nd Battalion, the Japanese-American segregated unit that fought for the U.S. while their families were imprisoned in barbed wire armed guard concentration camps. Our families were torn apart, jobs, health, property, dignity, and lives were lost. Reparations is more than a check. I hear people say they gave reparations to Japanese Americans. The United States government did not give us anything. We fought for reparations. After our bill was finally introduced, it took another 10 years to pass. Then we had to fight for appropriations and then help them locate the survivors. And through it all, the Congressional Black Caucus, chaired by Mervyn Dimely, our friend and mentor, supported Japanese American reparations every step of the way. Many are now ancestors, but I'd like to call out their names. Mervyn Dimely, Ron Dellums, John Conyers, Julian Dixon, John Lewis, Mickey Leland, Harold Washington, and our own Secretary Norm Mineta, Bob Matsui, and Senator Spark Matsunaga, and Dan Inoue. In honor of those congressional ancestors, we look to the Congressional Black Caucus today to again lead us in the campaign for reparations, and not just the powerful sisters that are here with us, but the caucus. There is a history of Japanese American Black solidarity. Nikkei Progressives and NCRR has roots in the movement of the 60s and 70s. We were inspired by Malcolm X and Fred Hampton and Martin Luther King, marched in solidarity with the Black Panthers, Republic of New Africa, Brown Berets. NCRR campaign for reparations was rooted in the principles of building solidarity
and grassroots organizing. Those principles continue to guide our fight for justice and reparations for Black Americans. And today, we are honored to stand with you in support of the Reparations Now resolution. I read this resolution. It is an education, a deep education, and a call to action. As we face daily blatant attacks on democracy, increased racism and divisiveness, it's more important than ever that we stand together and strengthen our solidarity to fight fascism and win reparations. Reparations is about human rights, affirming our history and atoning for past harms, restoring generational wealth, and confronting white supremacy. Reparations is more than a check. It's a call to action. Justice, solidarity, and reparations now. Thank you.
Next up is Chelsea Huggs-Wise, Executive Director, Marijuana Justice.
All right. Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Chelsea Higgs-Wise of Marijuana Justice, and I have traveled right up the road from Virginia to be here with you today. Virginia is known as the shores where the ships docked in 1619 for those 20 or so odd Negroes at Point Comfort. I'm here today to share Virginia's role and responsibilities applied not to just Virginia residents, but how Virginia acted as an accomplice to influence this country to further its harms nationwide. Would we be the same country if Virginia had not passed a law in 1670 proclaiming all newly arrived Africans be enslaved for life? Would we be the same country if Virginia had not stripped all free blacks and natives of their voting rights in 1723? What about the state outlawing interracial sex for 337 years, allowing for deadly enforcement of the majority of black men? Virginia may have started these practices, but the federal government continues the harm by refusing our repair. The resolution reads, recognizing that the United States has a moral and legal obligation to provide reparations for the crime of enslavement of Africans and its lasting harm on the lives of millions of black people in the United States. Well, I'm here today as a descendant of enslaved Africans to share what lasting harm looks like and feels like and has in Richmond, Virginia. This includes grave robbing of our loved ones for the medical dissection and experimentation by the local hospital that still stands and thrives today. Being displaced from homes and losing property value due to the highway of I-95 and 64 ripping through black neighborhoods like Jackson Ward, the Little Harlem of the South, and Navy Hill. Being a descendant of Virginia means that after the Voting Rights Act, we watched our city annex part of the county in order to purposely dilute the black majority vote. Speaking of the black majority, gentrification has caused black population in our city to decrease rapidly, no longer the chocolate city we were before and after emancipation. The Controlled Substances Act has allowed Virginia to arrest over 20,000 people a year. Up until 2020, feeding this monster of mass incarceration, mostly black people filling the court dockets 4 times the rate as white folks. And after 50 years of the drug war, black residents in Richmond overdose at the highest rate in our state with little public health resources of survival and much less acknowledging of our humanity. So today I stand in solidarity in this line with our ancestors, with our architects of the movement, and the spirit of those who have yet to come to say thank you to Congresswoman Lee, to say thank you to all of the women of color that are standing up here from Congress. It is not lost on me. It is the women up here leading this movement. Yes. And really to say that we are here together and that we cannot wait. This will be reparations when? Now. And reparations forever. Thank you. Up next, I'd like to introduce the one, the only, the founder and executive director of First Repair, Ms. Robin Rue Simmons.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Robin Rue Simmons. I am the founder and executive director of First Repair. I am a former city councilwoman from Evanston, Illinois. I am proud to be here today with each of you in support of Reparations Now Resolution by the fierce and unshakable Congresswoman Summer Lee and all the members that are in support of this resolution. Your leadership of this resolution and the package of reparative bills, including H.R. 40, during this hostile time where our human rights and civil rights are being signed away and our democracy is rapidly spiraling downward speaks volumes. Thank you. Here you stand for us, for this nation, for it is only through our repair that this nation will achieve liberty and justice for all. And a heartfelt acknowledgement to our brilliant sister, Dreesen Heath, and all of the conveners, yes, of the Why We Can't Wait Coalition and all other coalitions and individuals that have been leading in this fight. The case for reparations is clear, it is undeniable, and it is well established. I'm here to reinforce what is possible. Reparations, in our case, is a human right. Equity is good policy, but insufficient redress. And reparations is not just a check, as we just heard. There are few of us gathered here now relative to the hundreds that are here this week in DC in support of reparations. We have been in this fight for centuries. And today, cities and states, inspired by the vision of some of our past and present congresspeople, are proving that reparations are attainable and they are transformative for communities righteous and just enough to support and enforce redress for unlawful acts and the crimes against the humanity that do not have statute. We have been leading by example, establishing flexible models for redress, educating our communities, changing hearts and minds, healing and reconciling communities, and restoring wealth that's been stripped away from local policy and practices. Localities are holding ourselves accountable to what we expect of our congressional leadership. In 2019, Evanston, Illinois passed a tax-funded local reparations legislation, and since, there have been over 100 localities that have done the same, appropriate for the harm in their communities. Yes to that. Last week, it was Decatur, Georgia. Last month, it was Santa Monica, California. Last year, it was the state of New York. And we are so thrilled to see the legislative progress happening for the harms and the crimes against the people of Tulsa under the leadership of Tulsa's first black mayor, Mayor Nichols, including leadership from the Beyond Apology Coalition and Justice for Greenwood. So we are encouraged by the momentum in localities nationwide, but we are certain that even when, not if, but when we reach 100 localities for reparations, we will not achieve what our collective North Star is. That is federal, comprehensive, and full repair. That will take an act of Congress, rightfully so. If you need to understand the case for reparations nationally, read the 1619 Project by Nicole Hannah-Jones. If you want to learn all the ways the United States government is paying reparations today to other communities, yet denying us continually, then you need to read the Normalizing Reparations report by Professor Cornell Brooks at Harvard Kennedy School and Professor Linda Miles. If you want to learn how reparations can uplift us all, read The Case for Reparations by the Metropolitan Planning Council. If you want to see how harm is done to us and how it lives within our genes, there's a report, The Harm is in Our Genes by NCOBRA, commissioned by Cam Howard. If you need to see what a robust reparations study looks like, read the California State Reparations Task Force Harm Report. And if you would like to see the sentiments of a diverse community implementing reparations, you can read the Key Findings Study of Evanston Reparations by Northwestern Professor Al Tillery. And lastly, if you want to be the nation, if we want to be the nation we claim to be and reach our highest potential as a thriving, healthy democracy, support this passing of resolution Reparations Now and all the supporting policies, including H.R. 40 within the resolution. Reparations are possible. Reparations are due. Reparations now.
Kyle Bibby, co-CEO and co-founder of the Black Veterans Project.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kyle Bibby. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of the Black Veterans Project. I'm a former Marine infantry captain, a Naval Academy graduate, and an Afghanistan war veteran. For over 200 years, Black veterans have answered our nation's call with valor and distinction. And as I'm sure many of you know, we fought for a country that too often denied us the rights that were given to others. When we returned home from these battles, we faced a second war, one that still lasts, a war for equity, a war for safety, and in the case of today, the war for wealth that we earned through blood, sweat, and sacrifice. Black Veterans Project has collected the data. Going all the way back to World War II, we know that black military families have been denied approximately $100 billion in benefits to black military families. That's the total estimate, but for each veteran, there is a specific story. For veterans like Conley Monk, he returned to Connecticut from Vietnam, and many veterans like him were denied VA home loans for 4 decades or longer, not because they hadn't earned them, but because the system to attain those benefits had been rigged against them. Our research shows that black veterans are twice as likely to live in poverty, make up to one third of the veterans' homeless population, and face 44% higher unemployment rates than their white counterparts. These missing veteran benefits, no doubt, play a part in that. This isn't just about benefits and equal rights. This is about legacy. This is about erasing the history of our community, something that we are all well attuned to as we've witnessed the attacks on our rights to exist and have our story told today. Removing our history while denying us access to the same benefits has created an entire generation that were denied, and that was not by accident. It wasn't accidental when our ancestors were enslaved. It wasn't accidental when it took an entire civil war to liberate millions. It wasn't accidental when our communities were burned to the ground for daring to be independent and prosperous. And it isn't accidental today that we continue to deal with this. All these things were designed to obscure the truth of how our nation built prosperity on the backs of black people and defended that prosperity with the service of black veterans. That's why this resolution represents a demand for truth. It's an opportunity to finally document, acknowledge, and address the full scope of our collective American legacy. For black veterans specifically, it means finally recognizing that racial wealth gap isn't about individual choice, it's about willful obstruction. More importantly, I truly believe this nation needs reparations because we can never heal an illness that we refuse to diagnose. Today we stand not just as advocates, but as descendants, the children and the loved ones of the dispossessed. Our ancestors served with honor, faced discrimination with dignity, and passed down stories of service that were ignored. We carry their legacy, and we demand that their sacrifices be fully recognized. And we demand reparations now.
Dr. Marcus Anthony Hunter, author, Radical Reparations, Healing the Soul of a Nation, and board member of MBJC.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johns. Before I start, I just want to say the ancestors are so pleased, Dreesen. Dreesen, thank you so much. Thank you so much. To Summer Lee, the land of August Wilson is grateful. I'm from Philly, so I got to put that in.
I love that.
Yes, yes. To my dear friend, but fortunately the Congresswoman from Massachusetts' luckiest district, number 7, thank you for carrying a mantle that is 30 plus years old, but will not be 30 plus years old under your leadership. I want to thank our forever Congresswoman, Cori Bush. Cori Bush, we love you. We would not be here if not for your leadership, your brave leadership in the face of so many obstacles people do not know about. And you carried it because it's what matters for our people. It is with that spirit that I offer the benediction. We are gathered here today on what is effectively the eve of Malcolm X's 100th birthday. As we make our call for reparations now, we do so by also embracing the ancestral power and mandate embedded in Malcolm X's legacy. In his less than 40 years of life, he became one of the most well-known advocates for civil rights and racial justice. In a time of great division and need, Malcolm X's legacy is pregnant with insight and pathways toward truth, unity, and repair. Amidst his many calls to action, Malcolm X once declared, quote, "This same generation of whites also must recognize debts incurred by the former generations of whites to your and my forefathers," end quote. To be sure, X was an early reparations proponent, and many of the folks grappling with the idea of reparations today turn to his legacy and life for inspiration. In reparations' absence, systemic racism and systemic inequality have become so entrenched in the premise of the United States of America that even the combination of executive orders, military orders, and constitutional amendments have proven an inadequate adversary. Yet when the word and debates about reparations come up now, it is undoubtedly not about the fact of systemic subhuman bondage or lynching. Instead, it invariably becomes a debate about money. Questions about who should be paid, why they should be paid, how much should they be paid, round out the usual debate. But what if those are the wrong questions centered around a false premise? Bubbling just beneath the surface of the reparations debate is a real, though an unspoken, fear and worry. A worry that drudging up the past threatens the thinly braided fabric woven to hold all the quilt panels called the United States of America together. Many of the fears tend to emanate from presumed pathologies and dysfunctions believed and fed about Black people. How will they spend the money? What will they buy? Even when coming from an innocent perspective, these questions treat money as one-dimensional rather than the multifaceted object it is. Money is time. Money is currency. Money is wealth. Money is access. Money is energy. Money is memory. Money is history. Money is repairing. Money is recovery. Money is respect. Shout out to Aretha Franklin. Money is dignity. Money is truth. Money is healing. Money is restoration. Money is power. Money is presence. We, us, are present now. Those of us alive now, from all walks of life, have earned the right to live in a nation where reparations for slavery are commonplace and happening now. Reparations now, because America has a poverty problem. Reparations now, because America has a criminal justice problem. Reparations now, because the wealth and achievement gaps are detrimental and preventable. Yeah. Reparations now, because George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Tony McDade should be alive. Reparations now, because Tulsa's Black Wall Street should not only still be standing, it should be a thriving beacon and blueprint for joy and wealth possibilities. Yes. Reparations now, because the Black community should be thriving, not merely surviving. Reparations now, because our very nation's soul desperately needs a healing. Evermore, as Malcolm X astutely exclaimed in 1964, quote, "If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. If you pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made," end quote. It is this healing, this repairing, that we must turn to in order to progress to a more perfect union. Through politics, education, law, finances, social contracts, space, and spirituality, we can develop an inclusive, holistic reparations process. To do this, we need elected officials across the gamut that we are seeing blueprinted here by these beautiful Black women leaders. To help develop an inclusive idea of how it can lift up people from all walks of life and join with us in our community to lift up our voices together. We must remember that repair and healing are always a net benefit to any society. And Malcolm X's legacy is a foundation upon which we can be guided by our common truth and achieve dignity for all. Now, I will close with a universal law. All that you repair, you heal. All that you heal, heals you. The only lasting truth is love. God is love. God bless America. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all. Let's invite up our congressional leaders for Q&A.
With Republicans being in leadership this go around, which is different from the last session that the bills were introduced, how has that changed your strategy going forward with introducing the bills and also trying to get support?
I don't think that the opposition of this bill is one party in leadership or another. As you see, we've been fighting in and out of majorities, in and out of minorities, in and out of administrations. So our strategy to that end remains the same, because the opposition to reparations is the institution itself fighting back. And it's why it's so important that we move it from all angles. So whether or not it's Donald Trump or whoever comes after him in office, and we would love for us to not have to wait for who comes after him in office, our strategy is going to continue to educate. It's going to we're going to continue to organize. We're going to continue to, whether it be locality by locality, district by district, continue to build up the army of folks who we need to speak truth to power and really demand with us that which we are owed and what is due to us.
California was mentioned, I believe New York as well as mentioned as far as some of the reparation discussions have been brought up as far as bringing up commissions and studies. Those have been sort of been tamped down as for now. But some of the questions that have been brought up has been exactly what does your resolution really aim for? Is it that Black Americans of a certain economic level, are they being
Black Americans
targeted? Is it everyone? So basically, it doesn't matter as to what economic level. It's pretty much all Black Americans. What about those individuals of any race that have a lineage going back to slave America? It doesn't matter.
So to be very clear, whether or not a Black descendant of American chattel slavery were able to break into the middle class, they are still, and they were able to do that despite the harms, despite the past injustices done to them. So they are not excluded from the reparation and the remedies therein. When we think about who traces their lineage back, that is again a debate that is used to try to silence the rest of this movement. It's a distraction tactic. Because what we want to do is instead of focusing on, again, what the system did, who did it, and what the impact of it was, we'd rather get bogged down in, well, should they make $25 an hour or should they be paid below a living wage, right? Should they have been educated, or if they're educated, that disqualified? No, they are Black. If they are Black and they are descendants of slaves, then they were directly in the lineage of harm. If they are descendant of Jim Crow policies in this country, they are the direct descendants and current living recipients of that harm. If they are living today, then we are still harmed by inequitable funding schemes of public schools. We're still harmed by being Black or brown or poor and living nearer to environmental hazards all over this country. If you are Black in this country right now, you are still less likely to be able to acquire a loan. The interest rates are still higher for Black folks who are attempting to buy homes or go to school. We are still discriminated because of our hair, because of our names. When we go to get jobs, even as executive orders have been eroded, that would have protected against those things. So that's what we want to focus on, and that's precisely what this resolution does. This resolution also directly demands passage of H.R. 40 because we recognize that in concert, we are attempting to holistically address the harms that have been done by federal government action in this country. Come on up.
Come to the mic. Come to the Corey.
I just want to add one thing. That fire that you just received was all that was needed for this. But I want to add one thing about how this is always thrown at Black Americans to figure this out. The U.S. government has a moral and legal obligation to repair the harm. It's about what the perpetrator did and not who it was committed upon, or it's not. So it's our value. You know, are we being valued? Are we being, is the U.S. government acknowledging the harm? And so it should not be the person that committed the harm, that they get off as long as the person that received the harm, as long as that wound looks like it's healed. Oh, now I get away from, I don't have to deal with it. No, you did it. And the other thing is this, Republicans, and I'm going to say Republicans because generally that's where it comes from, but they love to call law and order. They love to say that, it's the rule of law and if you did it, then you got to own up to the crime and you got to be punished and all of these things. Well, we know what the U.S. did. Let's read this resolution. It tells you what the government did and what the government has not done to repair the harm to Black folks in this country. And so because of that, we're not demanding it because people may not have enough money in their bank accounts. We're demanding it because of the reason why we are in the state we're in, and we don't want our legacy, we don't want our children's children to have to walk through that very same thing when this country has the money to spend, the money to give. Because if we can give billions of dollars to war profiteers, if we can give billions of dollars to drop bombs on babies and to annihilate whole family legacies, if we have the money to do that, if we have the money to give all across the world to harm other people. This country needs to fix what it broke many years ago.
No, I associate myself, and I do just want to say that, just to make that point, that everyone, Democrat, Republican, has been a perpetrator or complicit in the policy harm and neglect done to black people. It has never been an indiscriminate harm. It has been a precise and intentional harm. And so that is exactly why we need to be race conscious and race specific in the work and the reparative work of restitution and redress. So this is not about Democrat, Republican. This is not black, white, brown, Asian. This is about right and wrong, good and evil. And are you a person of conscience? But the last thing I will say to the to my Democratic colleagues is that while we see that there are those that move as if the work of liberation is either on trend or off, and people that said they were a part of a so-called racial reckoning are nowhere to be found in this moment, that the headlines have faded, and so too has their commitment to do this work. To Democrats, I want to say, it is not enough for us to simply say, we ain't them. This is an opportunity and a moment to affirm exactly who we are as people of conscience. And, there's a lot of conflicting analysis and punditry about why we find ourselves in the moment we are in now and why Donald Trump has a second occupancy in the White House. I believe the people have sent a message that what they want are leaders that are fearless and unapologetic, advancing policies that go as far and as deep as the harm. So we need to do this thing. So reparations now.